Exciting news from the transfer portal. The hunt is on. The Oklahoma Sooners have offers going out. And here's the deal, more are going to be coming because you're seeing a lot of talent hit that transfer portal, people testing the waters, seeing what's available. And we're going to talk about it today. And we're going to talk about why this is important for Oklahoma and the players you need to be paying attention to. But I need to know, which talented players have caught the Sooners' attention? Make sure you stay tuned and you find out. Want you guys to be joining the discussion. Jump down in the comments below. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and hit that subscribe button. So we got to start off with letting you guys know, portal tracker, Oklahoma's got 10 guys in the portal. Running back Dalen Smothers, that was the one that I don't think a lot of people really expected. Key Lawrence, who actually is going to be taking a visit to Ole Miss. Tawi Walker, Reggie Grimes, Nate Anderson, DJ Graham, Jason Llewellyn, Marcus Major, Dylan Gabriel, and Marcus Hicks. As well as Key Lawrence going to Ole Miss to take a visit. It looks like Dylan Gabriel will be potentially taking a visit to Oregon soon. So you guys are going to want to stay tuned for that to find out where do our Sooners end up at. But we're going to talk about some of this talent in the transfer portal and which ones have caught the Sooners' attention. But before we dive into the offers, we need to talk about some guys that maybe haven't got offers yet that you guys are going to have questions about. First one is Toriano Pride Jr., the 5'11", 190-pound cornerback out of St. Louis, Missouri, was at Clemson, now in the portal. Here in 2023, had 14 total tackles. Not a guy that's produced a whole lot for Clemson. And in his interview with 247 Sports, and this is the reason why you've seen Oklahoma fans be so excited, is Toriano talked about how he went to Clemson because of BV. Now, he entered the portal with a do not contact tag, which probably tells you he probably knows where he's going. And right now, I'm going to lean Missouri there. I have not gotten any definitive information that would tell me Toriano is going to be a Sooner, but just to let you know, BV was a huge reason why he ended up at Clemson. And Jay Valai was also on the staff at Alabama that was trying to get him to Alabama. So you never know. The tides may turn. I'm going to pick Missouri, though. It just seems like the more logical choice when he's got a do not contact tag. Now, the other one that I want you guys to look at is Dejon Malone, or Des Malone, the 6'2", 200-pound junior out of Fresno, California, was playing for the San Diego State Aztecs. In 2023, had 46 total tackles, 34 solos, which is actually what he had in 2022. So he was able to at least be consistent. He had one forced fumble, one interception, and in 2022 he had 3 interceptions. So this actually would be a great option because you're potentially losing Woody Washington, or at least we all expect Woody Washington to go to the draft. So this would be a good replacement there. Additionally, you're losing Key as well, because I think Key played a little bit of cornerback. So the Oklahoma Sooners definitely are going to want to create some more depth there. And you're getting a guy that has experience, but is also going to be able to come in and drive guys like Josiah Wagner and Gentry Williams and Kenai Walker and guys like that to be their absolute best. So good job on some of the Twitter people and Jay for keeping an eye on that one. Interesting there. A name that a lot of you guys might not be focusing on. Trevor Etienne, the sophomore out of Jennings, Louisiana, was with the Florida Gators. Again, now in the transfer portal, had 131 carries, 753 yards, 8 touchdowns. He was their guy. And this was a guy that has a great relationship with BV. And I know that the tires have been kicked around. Now, whether Trevor Etienne actually ends up in the University of Oklahoma, I have no idea. You still have a really good running back class, but you've lost a little bit of depth there now having 3 running backs at the portal. So they're going to kick the tires on somebody, trying to get somebody else in here that has at least a little bit of experience with Javante Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk. And you would imagine if Trevor Etienne comes in, he's going to be a 1A or a 1B for the Sooners. Another name that was thrown out to me that would potentially be looking to come to Oklahoma I'm not going to say what he would come to Oklahoma for, but you guys can put the pieces together, and that's Trey Bradford. And this guy's name might actually ring a bell for you guys because he was a part of the Oklahoma Sooners. In 2021, he entered the transfer portal and he ended up at LSU, but hasn't really done anything at LSU. And now he's kicking the tires around, seeing if Oklahoma would be interested in him, or at least that's what I've heard. So take it for what it's worth. But if you get Trey Bradford back in here, that potentially adds a little bit more depth. But also, again, do the Sooners want a guy like Trey Bradford, or do they want to go after a guy like Trevor Etienne if they can land him? Now, we got to get into the talent that has caught the Oklahoma Sooners' eyes before we talk about the defensive line, which is another thing that I know you guys want to talk about. See, make you guys stay till the end. And the first name that we have to talk about on the offensive line that has caught the Oklahoma Sooners' attention, or specifically maybe Seth Luttrell, is Fabichi Nwenoewu. I struggle with those words, struggle with those W's. The 6'4", 316-pound sophomore out of Coppell, Texas, massive human being. And listen, Bill Beanbo, he's going to need some guys on the offensive line as he's lost a couple in the transfer portal. You're going to have a couple on their way out. And so you're going to want to replace these guys, not with just freshmen that you're getting here in this class, which hopefully you get Eddie Pierre-Louis and he can contend for a starting spot this year. But Fabichi Nwenoewu is somebody that Seth Luttrell is familiar with, and obviously somebody that Bill Bedenbaugh probably likes. But the big names on the board is specifically Spencer Brown, the 6'6", 315 offensive lineman out of Michigan State. So Spencer Brown is a guy that I think he's had over like 26 starts, 20 at I believe it was the left tackle position. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, somebody. But Spencer Brown is going to be an option because this is a guy that, hey, he needs to build up his draft stock a little bit. And we've seen plenty of offensive linemen do this in the past where they transfer to Oklahoma and they kind of revitalize their careers, or they get that just a little bit of fine tuning from Bill Bedenbaugh and get that boost in the draft. We're going to see that with Walter Rouse this year. Another offensive lineman that you could be looking at is Gino Vandemark, a sophomore. You guys are going to catch that as a theme here. The staff's going to want to take guys with multiple years, guys that are going to be able to stay in the program just a little bit longer so that you can create some of that competitive depth in terms of guys that know the system, and then you're not having to rely on the transfer portal a whole lot. I expect this is going to be the last year where we see a good chunk of players out of the transfer portal to Oklahoma. But a 6'5", 320-pound dude, another big body to add to that offensive line, add a little bit depth. But this is the one that really intrigued me, and it's Jalen Farmer, the 6'5", 310-pound freshman from the Florida Gators. He entered the transfer portal. He got an offer, and I believe there are a couple teams looking at him as well. So this is one that Oklahoma fans are definitely going to want to pay attention to. All right. Defensive line. Let's talk about it. This is the beast that all of you guys are tuning in for, and you guys are going to have questions on. And I'm going to go ahead and start by saying this. Just because they have announced their plans to enter the portal does not mean they're in the portal and available for the Oklahoma Sooners to go out there and chase, a.k.a. Walter Nolen. As I am recording this video on Tuesday night at 10:11 p.m., Walter Nolen has not hit the transfer portal yet. Now, this is not to say that when you guys see this on Wednesday morning at 6:30 a.m., Walter Nolen's in the portal. But as of right now, I have not seen Walter Nolen's name officially in the portal. So where we talked about, hey, Oklahoma could be potentially a dark horse player for Nolen, now you have to look at it and go, he might not be leaving A&M. Now, Elijah Robinson was a huge reason why he was sticking there, and also a huge reason why he's leaving. And I was talking to Jay about this earlier when we were in a room together, and he said, hey, like a lot of these kids, they wanted Elijah Robinson to be the head coach. And I was like, well, yeah, well, maybe if he was the defensive coordinator, he would have stayed. But the fact that he left and went to Syracuse is why you're seeing the defensive linemen really start to think about it and really start to test the waters. And listen, Terry Price ain't there anymore either. Unfortunately, Terry Price passed away, and you've started to see a little bit of breaking in that defensive line room since that's happened. And so, speaking of Terry Price, another guy that you really have to look at that has announced his plans to enter the portal but is not officially there is Lebbeus Overton. Now, you might be saying, Preston, you told me Oklahoma's not going to be kicking the tires on Lebbeus Overton. That is true. The 6'5", 265-pound sophomore, originally from Milton, Georgia, has now had 2 seasons on the books with the Texas A&M Aggies. Originally, the number 1 player here in the 2023 class, but reclassified the 2022. I have been told that Oklahoma is going to kick the tires around Lebbeus Overton. I think that's a little shocking because from what I originally heard, it sounded like that one had maybe been dead in the water. But hey, you know what? You get a former 5-star and somebody of Lebbeus Overton's talents to hit the portal, a guy that had so far in his career 48 total tackles, 18 solos. Now he only has 1 sack on the board, and a Texas A&M defensive line that was creating a lot of pressure, getting those tackles for loss, getting to the quarterback. Lebbeus Overton is a guy that he gets under Todd Bates. He's going to be able to be refined. He's going to be able to be developed, and he's going to be a first-round talent. So this is one that we'll have to keep an eye on, but we need to see him actually hit the portal. Now, somebody else that you guys are waiting on, and you guys saw the pictures of Todd Bates down at Katy Paytow with David Hicks Sr. David Hicks is not in the portal yet, guys. And yes, like Todd Bates being out there with David Hicks Sr. is a power move. But just as quickly as Todd Bates was out there, Mike Elko was out there. So this is going to be a fight for Todd Bates. And if David Hicks hits the portal, I 100% would favor Oklahoma. But as of right now, it does not look like Hicks is going to be in the portal just yet. Now, last but not least, we got to talk about Chris McClellan. So this is one that I've seen you guys talking about on Twitter, the 6'3", 320-pound sophomore out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Again, this is another one where he's announced his intentions, but as of 10:15 p.m. on Tuesday night when I'm recording this, Chris McClellan is not in the transfer portal. So things change. Now, this is one that you talk to a couple people, and they tell you he's going to be in the portal. It's just the processing at this point. So we'll have to keep an eye on this one because if Chris hits the portal, you would imagine with the way that Oklahoma has prioritized kids from the state of Oklahoma, you would imagine if Chris hits the portal, just like if a Luke Haas was to hit the portal from Arkansas, that the staff would go balls to the wall for a player like that because he's talented. He's from the state. It only helps with recruiting later down the road. And this is a talent that I think you get here in Oklahoma, and he makes a difference. So those are the Sooners, or those are the talented players that have caught the Sooners' attention. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys haven't already, make sure you're jumping down in the comments below, joining the discussion. And if you have not already, go ahead and hit that like and hit that subscribe button.